Hey team, want to make a quick video. I was just looking at different formats for online streaming content, and I found this TV series. It's a docu-series, so it's like, what, 5 episodes, 6 episodes, about modern social media in the teenage years, high school setting. And I know when I was in high school, we didn't really have social media. I know we had MySpace, and that was kind of it YouTube was just starting. So we had YouTube and we had MySpace as kind of the main ones. But now it's much more saturated. Everyone has smartphones. I did not have a smartphone until I was in my 20s. So I did have a cell phone starting probably when I was 16, maybe. But it was just, like games like Snake, and, it didn't have maybe Solitaire, or I don't know, but it was very, very basic. And we didn't have the smart setup with internet or anything like that until I was in my 20s. So I just thought I would kind of watch it. And I just think that it's really, really interesting to see. Obviously, I'm older now, and they're talking about constantly posting. Someone said, if I didn't have social media at the age of 14, I'd just be a lousy 14-year-old. And I don't know. For me, that was kind of surprising. I think looking back, I've learned quite a bit, and I've come to like social media and sharing my mind. And I used to, just talk with my main friends on the phone, and that was kind of my social interactions. They'd come over, I'd go over to their places. We'd have like the one-on-ones. It was very rarely more than just 2 people, 2-3 people hanging out. But they're talking about audiences of like thousands of people, and but I think it takes place in a rich area, because a lot of them were talking about spending like thousands of dollars on a pair of shoes, and just this complete fame and glam lifestyle. But I do know that, and even social media for the lower, slower lifestyles have a lot of the same principles of, these are the tropes. These are the things that you are wanting to post on social media that give that fear of missing out vibe. And this is what people care about. And you want to show them what people care about. And you want to post the right things because it shows who you are, kind of what you're about, what you're doing. And so I think it's interesting to just look, because, with the TikTok, and I actually found I was in college, and, I went back to college later in life, and the cell phone was so integrated into, into the culture, like, not as much as it could be. I feel like we actually could have, kind of made more of the technology, because everyone had their laptops and glass, and everyone had their phones and things. But it was nice to be able to just snap a picture to take notes, instead of, I'm running out of time, but I have to copy they changed the slide. Except it wasn't even a slide, it was a PowerPoint presentation versus like on the projector system. Yes, I grew up in middle school, high school. We just had the projector with the see-through slides with the black ink, and then the dry erase markers, or the the ones that you could wash off the plastic. But no. These are, PowerPoint slides. But I just think it's really interesting to see, because, even now, the high schoolers, have that access to the social media, where we did not have it like throughout the day. It was not a pressing concern to monitor that and control that. And I think that that's really interesting, because it can be such a force for good, but it can also be such a big distraction. So like in the classroom format, and a lot of them are talking about their reputations, and I felt like I didn't, I don't know if it would have been beneficial or detrimental to me to have that level of peer pressure, or like, and cyberbullying. I'm only just putting videos out, and I don't have, like, I've got 30 people or so, it says subscribe to my channel, but I very rarely get like one or two comments. So I'm not used to those 1,000 comment clicking clickbait type posts. And so, they're talking about all the glamorous makeup and fashion and all those things. And I do like fashion. That might surprise you by most of my videos, because I cannot find my best angle to save my life, or I don't care. It's probably a toss up, but yeah, so I just think it's really interesting how different a perspective that is from what I grew up with. Finding the right angle, and how relevant that is or isn't. I think that's really interesting to kind of think about. It's a completely different world from what I grew up in. Worrying all the time about what people are thinking, what people are saying, and I do recognize also that I'm not. People don't necessarily care. I think a certain amount of feedback is really, really great, but a lot of times, they're just going to say something like, oh, that's cute, or oh, that's great, and kind of that's it. But the occasional person will be like, wow, and we'll start to rip into you, sometimes for stupid things, and sometimes for not. I know I had a period there where they were saying, you're homosexual, you are a lesbian, but they, simultaneously, you're a whore, you're a hoe. And that was really, really hard to counter, because it's just like, excuse me? What? Because I'm just so not used to that at all, and I don't, I don't know that, I feel like the people that I grew up with, and the images that they have are very conservative in that regard. And I don't know that I could say that any person that I grew up with, that I went to school with, was a hoe. I don't think, I don't feel like we had that rhetoric. I felt like everyone was, and yay, go us. but, I don't know that anybody had such a bad reputation. I know there were some instances of underage drinking and partiers. That wasn't my scene. So, and we didn't have the social media. I wasn't friends with those people on social media. And so we never saw it. There might have been whispers about a party or something, but I was like, oh, okay. And then, what's right in front of you? What's here? What do you see? What's in front of you? Schoolwork. And that's kind of it, at-home dramas and with your best friends that you see every day. And that wasn't what we saw every day. That's not what I saw every day. So it's just weird going. And of course, this was a docuseries, and obviously Rich Neighborhoods, and a lot of the, the docuseries, a lot of them are kind of exacerbating those minutia into bigger problems, or like bigger things. So they might be exaggerated, representations of who people are, of what people see, of what people do on social media platforms, and just in general. But it's good to know like what people perceive, and sometimes the exaggerations do help with that. And so I'm just curious, because I do feel like technology in the classroom is a great idea, and technology would, I was always talking with my friends, and it was literally just on the phone. There was no like face-to-face interaction, so and maybe texting a little bit here and there, but it's such a different world with snaps and constant interaction. And I saw people's kids posting, and it was all those things. And we did that when we were kids, but it was never posted. It was never for an audience. It was just us, having fun, being kind of nerdy, kind of just having fun and enjoying life. So I wonder, how that shaped me as a person, how that shaped us as a, as a generation, or how much it affected other people, or, what happens behind closed doors. I know other people would get together and kind of like film, like music videos and like, I guess we did a little bit of that, but it was never shared, and so it's just it's just weird to think how that shapes people and what that means and what that does. And I am curious because, people have told me that I have low self-esteem, that I'm not secure in who I am, and who, because I didn't have that opportunity to constantly share. And I don't see that. I don't feel that. And I just feel like it was such a different upbringing. And so I just feel like I have, I was going through the cyberbullying, and, I have tried to explore more of myself in sharing, and, as I get older and I have more access to resources and things like that, I do have more opportunities. I was not well off when I was growing up, so I did not have a lot of access to resources. Like we had like $2 allowance, in middle school, high school, and it would go up by like 25 cents every birthday or something. And then it was literally just forgotten, and I didn't have a job until, like summer camps, late high school. And so I never had disposable income. And so we would just get like 1 or 2 outfits for school before the school year started. And that was kind of it. Like, I think we had like a pair of winter boots, for like years and years. And otherwise we just wore our sneakers, and then those got bad. And so it's like how many things, I guess we didn't have growing up and so it's interesting because I do feel like access to resources helps you learn and grow and become yourself. But also what you do when you don't have resources as well. Kind of shapes who you are too. And I do know that I was in activities, and I was doing homework. Otherwise, I remember fighting for the remote, or fighting for the computer, because we only had one. There were 3 girls, growing up, and the parents also had to have time with our one. We had 2 computers. One was so old though. It depends, because one, one was our old one that was our one computer until we got the new computer, and then because this was before laptops too were a common thing at the house, and so now everyone's got a computer, everybody's got a tablet, everyone's got a phone, everyone's got like a reading device like a Nook or a Kindle, and everybody, it's if you don't have those things, it's so different to how we grew up. So, I love playing and dabbling with the resources that I have available to me, obviously. And I think it's great that you have that opportunity, that access. And I am posting more, obviously, about my own life experience, what I think, what I feel. And I am trying to interact more with comments, though they are sparse, and that suits me just fine, because it's definitely more manageable of a number than hundreds of thousands, So it's just a completely different life, and I do recognize that people in theory have their own lives and don't need to worry about you as much, and that's kind of what I think, like, making these videos, it's like, yeah, it's not my best angle or whatever. It's not necessarily about how I look in the video. It's about what I'm trying to say. And sometimes, even when I say is a little fluffy, or I say a lot, I go off on tangents that are immaterial, things like that. But I'm just curious, Yeah, I do know, like people make up their minds and like within like what is it, like 90 seconds of seeing something, they make up their minds whether they like it or don't, and what factors go into that. And I think it depends on what kind of material you're trying to make. If it's educational, if it's this is kind of vlog style, it's just more honest, open, it's just starting a dialogue. Some people don't like that. Some people do. So I don't know. And I did say I was going to try to make more professional-esque type videos, better lighting, better, like finally figure out how to frame my face with this darn phone. But I haven't gotten to it. Mostly I just want to get what I want to say out, and so I'll make like 10 videos at once with these things that are important to me. And then I'll just not make a video for like a week or two, a couple weeks, and then it's just video, and a lot of it's just updates, fluff stuff. But it's good to obviously share new information. But I don't know, it just feels so surreal, and how much of that is exaggerated on the docuseries about teenage social media in general. How much do we lean into that, and how much obviously you want to own your own power and be self-confident, and what does that take? What does that mean? What does that look like? And I think that that's very interesting and very good to know. So, and to show and be able to be mindful, be kind, and represent yourself well. And, that's another thing. I can make another video. Someone was talking about one of my politics videos about representation and things like that. And so maybe I'll make another post about that. But what does it take to represent yourself, to represent your interests, your best interests, your perspective on issues, and who you are? And I think there's so much in that, and I can talk about that too, like the different levels of communication, the rhetoric, that it comes back to the rhetoric, I guess. And I've made videos about rhetoric and how it's so all encompassing, because it's your speech, it's your nonverbals, it's how you dress, it's the environment you find yourself in, you put yourself into. It all talks about who you are as a person, where you come from, where you're going. And a lot of times that even like one snapshot of where you are isn't going to be representative, and can be argumentative and offensive if you take a bad picture, or like obviously none of my videos capture, like, very rarely am I looking like a model with disposable income. There. And so that's okay. So I'm just vlogging. That's not what I need. That's not what I want. So that's fine. I have pictures that I feel like I look model-esque with disposable income, but that's not what I'm worried about. I can take a nice photo or, whatever, but yeah, how do you represent yourself, and to what extent is that important in our society? And what do you think about it? What do you feel about it? How much do you lean into that, and how much stock do you put in that? And I think that that's a great thing, especially with the election that we just had talking about, because I didn't like either of our candidates, and I didn't want either of them to represent me. And I felt like the Green Party, I liked how they were bringing up scientific, analytics and data, and they seemed to be well educated, versus, and as, there are elements that I liked. I loved Kamala as a female president, and she, of an alternative ethnicity. And I loved having our governor, having Tim Walz as our potential representative. I loved the tater tot recipe, and I love his posts, seeing them on Facebook. I'm a follower of him. And so he was so down home, and so much, he seemed like such a family man, and that was so good and so important to me. So I liked his image. I didn't much care for the platform for Kamala. I did want to hear more. I wanted to see bigger viewpoints, and I wanted to see more of the analytics and the data that were discussed by the Green Party. And I wanted the confidence, the trueness of Trump, the straightforward, the I'm not going to bullshit you, or the, just the confidence of Trump and his rhetoric too, with his repertoire in business and international trades. So it's tough. They all had good things about them, and I should have looked more into the Kennedy, the other person that ran as well. But they all had things that I liked about them, but I just could not say yes to any of them. So it's just, we are in the era of the Anthropocene. It is people choose, people shape, people create. And I think that that's great, having the local entrepreneurs and small businesses and small influencers, local influencers, and having that access to information and communication with people of your own generation, of your own era, of just everybody. I think that's so great. And right now I'm less interested in making friends and more interested in getting that data for those things that are making a difference, just because I've always kind of had long distance friends, and we've been great just catching up after however long, and talking about what's important to us, and then kind of moving forward. And so it's more about what's important, I think, and less about who's wearing what, who's doing what, and when and how. And I mean, that's great. That's love. And it's great to catch up. So a lot of that in person is just being in person together, but doing what's important in our own general lives. And, so it's separate, but still affectionate and, supportive of each other. So we don't need, that. And I don't know if that's because we haven't had that social connection of the internet when I was growing up, or, what it was, but it's just, it's kind of fine. I would love to have more friends, or to be able to hang out with my friends more. And I have made videos where I had a mental health breakdown, and I kind of lost track of my friends, but now I've got so much going on of just like personal interests, and trying to save the planet with green initiatives and environmental things, and making videos, and so trying to do the right thing for as many people as possible, but trying to, so it's interesting to see their perspective, and they're talking about partiers and partying, and the who's where, what are they wearing, and things like that. And that's, it can be fun, but and it's great to explore yourself. And so that's the important part in that element. And that's true. And finding freedom and pushing the envelope and moving the world forward. That's a good thing. Finding more efficient, sustainable practices and things like that too. Just living different lifestyles. I think that's great. Very intercultural. Expands horizons and reduces limitations. So that's really good. So I don't know. What are your thoughts on social media? There's so many pros about it. And obviously you want to make the right choices in your life and figure out, all this partying stuff is kind of a waste of my time. I will be honest, with the docuseries, the first episode was largely about what clothes do I wear when I go back to school after COVID, and partying. And so I don't know that I will continue this docuseries per se, but I do think that it was kind of interesting to see the elements that were more, kind of what I wanted to see, less about what I'm seeing and just like the snippets of what they're not talking about, but I find more interesting. So I do find myself watching and being like, well, how much of this is true? Because I'd like truth, and I don't hang out with teenagers. Oh man, I don't have teenagers in my life. Oh man, my nieces are almost there, so but they're a couple states away. So, oh well, I'll have to. Yeah, I don't know. A lot of my friends don't have kids, and a lot of them don't have kids that are going to be teenagers. So, goodness gracious. I guess maybe wait until we get there, or watch more of this docu-series. But oh well. Okay, so that's this video is way too long, but that's kind of where my headspace is at. Talk to me about it. I want to know what you think. Okay, bye.